or anyone are in the crucial first steps in making the most maximum number of physical literate people, young people, to build a stronger nation in this competitive world. So for that, let me share my screen, please. So this is about the young athlete management. So as I said earlier, in the crucial steps, it is very important to make the athlete competent and confident enough. So managing an athlete, a coach plays a major role. In fact, a coach should know the pediatric sports sciences involved in the changes happening, from a childhood to an adulthood. That makes a very big difference because coaches can make a very big impact in the development stages of a child. And a coach should also know the basic dietetic principles which is involved in the growth and development of the child. And above all, a coach should also develop a close relationship with the parents, because the parents of the children are the hero and heroines of the players or the athletes or the children. So coming back, I would like to, because this is all the coaches who are present here, on the perspective of a coach, I'm going to share my experiences of my academy and what is happening in India, which will be, I am sure, which will be very much in coordination with the world athletics. And most of the countries would experience the same. This is an organization registered for 20 years and serving athletics since 2001. I'm one of the honorary director, India Sports Promotion Academy. The motto very clearly says, no compromises, never compromise. So only on sports training and competition and performance, never compromise and no compromise. So in this last 20 years, we had trained around around 18,000 children, 18,000 kids. In a year of around 800 to 1,000 children, we trained them in different perspectives. So we ensure the motto of the academy is to play well. We ask the children to play well always, because there are 4 parameters which makes the children very active during their school days, which is very important and significant, because no other work they do. They don't do washing, they don't do cleaning, they don't do washing of utensils, washing of the clothes, cleaning of the utensils. So they have to continue to do these 4 parameters regularly, and we ensure the children to play well. Then eat well, eat well. In the eat well, they have to be guided to have a quality food, not quantity food. And when you play well and when you enjoy and when you eat well, you will sleep well. Sleep well on time, because 10 o'clock to 4 o'clock, they have to sleep minimum 6 hours to 8 hours for a growing child. And if you sleep well, then the growth and development of the child will be fantastic. And when you perform all these 3, you will have a sound body in a sound mind. You will study well. So these are the 4 aspects we ensure in this academy. I am sure everybody will agree to this, that the coach can make a very big impact in the child and growth development. So as the World Athletics Coaching Philosophy says, you can see the picture there. The 3rd place winner is so happy, but the 1st place winner is so sad and very curious and very anxious what is happening around. He's very silent about it. The emotional content of the athlete is very important. That is what it says. The World Coaching Athletics Philosophy says that athletes first, winning second. So we have to take care of the welfare of the athletes first. So winning is second or tertiary. The primary most thing is taking care of the welfare of the athletes, because the athlete's life is maximum of 10 to 15 years, but they live for 70 years, 80 years. So throughout their life, they have to live with dignity, with respecting each other's co-athletes and the coaches and the parents and the public in society. And so that is why athletes first is important, winning comes second. You have to emphasize on the very important principle of the coach performing, doing right things at the right time. Very important for the development of the child at different stages. If you miss the things which has to be done at the right time, definitely you lose the prime period of the growth and development of a child. So this is how the coach has to manage from the beginning. And then comes to know the stages of the athlete. We all know there are 5 stages: the infancy, from 0 to 2 years, the childhood, 2 to 10 years, and the puberty between 10 to 12 years, or 10 to 14 years, or 12 to 14 years for males, for boys, and for girls, it's always 2 years before the boys. And the adolescence period is the most vital period, which makes a very big change. Happens from 12 years, for 12 years to 18 years for the females, and 14 years to 20 years. Then comes your adulthood. We will be seeing it in detail, how a coach can manage. In the growth and development, the growth aspects, we all know that it increases physically in size, all the organs, the muscles, the bones, everything. So for that, it is all measurable in size, the physique, the body composition, and the various systems developed inside the body of the child, of the athlete. So the coach has to know at what stages, which are the organs, which are the parts of the body, and those different parameters. So that in the development, if you ask me, the functional ability has to be developed in the right age. What is functional ability? The functional ability is nothing but working of the opposing muscles together and making the individual muscles to linking of the muscles activity is functional ability. Make the maximum use of each and every muscles at the utmost best of performance. So that is functional ability has to be developed at the right age. That is the age where each and every child has to generate successfully. Procreation has to happen at that place. If you call the maturity is the final stage. I would suggest, or I would propose, maturity can be divided into 3 parts. The first part is the pre-puberty stage, that is the before puberty, then the puberty stage, then comes the post-puberty. Because a lot of changes happens, because the training structure has to be made or oriented depending upon the different stages of the life. Before the puberty, that is pre-puberty stage, the training adaptability has to be made. So that, because most of the neuronal changes happens before the puberty. During puberty, the neuronal and hormonal changes happens. So what happens is that the neurons has to be developed. So we call it as biological development. So where the coach has to understand between a boy and a girl during the biological development, where the girls will have to be more very cautious and take precautions has to be taken during their menstrual cycles and menstruations. So then comes your behavioral development. The behavioral development is nothing but your mental aspect, your confidence level, your competence level, then your how your attitude, your character, your manners, everything. Then comes your social development in the higher stage, where how you behave in the society, how you interact, how you respect your elders, how to manage with your seniors, your coaches, your teachers, your parents. So these are the 3 stages during which the maturation happens in the development of a child. Then comes your growth and development, how the growth takes. We all know that when the child is young, in a 1-year-old child, most of the trunk grows maximum. And during from 1 year to before puberty, their limbs, the lower limbs grow much faster. That is, during the adult stage, again, the trunk part grows bigger. See, as far as we can say that 5 times your lower limbs grows, and 3 times your trunk, and 2 times of your arms, and your head grows 4 times of your body ratio. So these are the coach has to know how the growth takes place in different parts, different timings of the when the child grows. So the body grows by different body segments growing at different times. So when a baby is born, that is the stage where the nerve cells are forming. The central nervous system from the brain, which produces impulses or gives information or impulses to the body to act. So this impulses the nerve cells. Each nerve cells produces a information, content, and produces impulse. When these nerve cells attaches with the muscle, when the nerve cells attaches with the muscle, we call it as a synapse. These nerve cells and synapse interconnectivity has to be made. And when it is, the connectivity is made more stronger and more effective, then there happens the neuronal variability, so that this neuronal variability can be developed by varying the distance and varying the heights by different movements, fundamental basic movements, and by skill training. So this neuronal variability has to be developed at the younger age, because as I said earlier, before the puberty stage, it will all happen because of neuronal changes, the nervous system changes. During the puberty, we have neuronal as well as the hormonal changes happening. So in this time, we have to 0 to 2 years, the basic movements like crawling, walking, jumping, running, throwing, catching, kicking. So this all happens with the different events before the puberty. And almost till puberty, then comes your skill development. So in combination with the structure of basic movements with strength, then coming on to the skill movement with strength and coordination and flexibility, the best option, the suggested by the World Athletics, is the long-term athletic development, the LTAD. So in which we know the stages of kids athletics, multi-events, event group development, specialization, and your performance stage. So at the different age categories, a coach should be familiar with this, at what age kids athletics has to be performed, and or what age, and the age of the children, the multi-events, and so on. See, for example, in the stage 1, the physical literacy, we have to ensure that the kids develop agility, balance, coordination, and speed. This is vital important, the ABCs. And the ABCs of athletics also can be ensured, so that the fundamentals of running, jumping in different ideas, in different variations can be given to the children. And the kinesthetics, what the child feels inner self, the feeling of the child while performing and after performing and before performing, that is called kinesthetics. Gliding, buoyancy, and striking can be made them to feel and made them to experience. So catching, kicking, and striking is also all put together is physical literacy. As I said earlier, this is a crucial step where the physical literacy has to be inculcated between the kids, so that they become more stronger, and when they go to the higher stages of performance, then they will excel well. So this is a kids athletics event happening in my academy in Chennai, the Tamil Nadu Sports Development Authority. We have an association with the government of Tamil Nadu and IIT Madras. So these are the various activities performed by the children. Every year, around 1,000 children trains for physical literacy. We have a category of 8 to 10 years, and 10 to 12 years, 12 to 14 years, 14 to 18 years. So we have around 1,000 children per year being conducted for physical literacy and talent identification program. So structuring of those training is very important for the children. You start with, see, suppose when the child is born, the child always moves the bigger movements. If you ask the child to move the little finger alone or the index finger alone, the child will not move. If you ask the child to move the full arm, then it will move faster. So you start with bigger movements to smaller movements. So simple exercises to complex tasks. So you have a variations in practice. That is where your shaping and chaining comes here. I think you all coaches know what is shaping and chaining. So when you teach the athlete in the overall structure and modifying and culturing it, then it is shaping method. And chaining is you divide or split into parts and you link the parts of the same exercise, then it becomes chaining. So these two methods can be taught to these children in variations of practice so that it will get interested. So this application of skill in playing situation is very, very important so that the children will get into that competition situation. The coach should focus on the practice with the children's limitations. So a coach should understand the limitation of the child. One should not see, suppose, for example, I will give you an example in the eating habits. Suppose I have the capacity to eat one full plate of biryani. or one full plate of rice. The same, another person cannot have one plate. His capacity may be only half plate. Another person will have a capacity of 2 plates. So a coach should understand the limitation of a child so that he can ensure the correct loading system of the child's, so that the child should enjoy. Ultimately, the coach should focus on the happiness of the children, because I ensure in my academy, the academy which is performing here, every training session, the children should enjoy and be happy. When they go back home, they should be happy. And they should have the same enthusiasm and interest to come back for the next day, during the next training session. This is how a coach can manage and create interest among the children. So teaching to the children has to be very simple. Keep it simple. Kiss. Kiss, I know everybody is attracted, fascinated toward kiss. Kiss is nothing but keep it simple and keep it very easy for the children to learn. Then comes, don't expect too much too soon, because many of the children will expect, tomorrow I would become a world champion. It takes 20 years of training, systematic, like the long-term athletic development, 20 years to produce a champion. So a coach should understand that we should not expect too much from too soon. Maybe some children may pick it up very faster, some children very slow. So it depends upon each individual. So then comes, don't give them too much to think. So you may be very technically sound, but make the children to understand what they're doing. That is all. Don't make them to understand the scientific, the techniques behind it, so that they will think too much, and that will affect their performances. A very important aspect a coach should know is about growth plates, because during the growth and development, this growth plates makes a major impact. These growth plates are the soft tissues present in the bone, edges of the bones, which affects the growth of which stimulates or enhances, supports the growth of the bone and the growth of the individual. So when these growth plates are stressed, you are not only stunning the growth, stopping the growth, but also it leads to injury. So this is a very important factor a coach should know about it. In the stage 2, we all know that the key physical skills has to be focused, the genetic potential, and of course, the optimal performance levels. This is the stage where your physical literacy, which you have learned in the basics, has to be refined and made to be specific in learning the physical literacy. Then comes your stage 3, the event group development, where the neuronal variability happens once again. As I told you, the neurons has to be connected with the muscle, the synapse, the interconnectivity of the muscles happens at this stage, where an important aspect of maturation, where the growth spurt happens during this stage. That is the peak height velocity, because the neuronal changes, it transforms into the hormonal changes, where the peak height velocity takes place. For the women, for the girls, it is 2 years or 3 years before the boys it happens. So the coach should understand the growth spurt when it happens and give the right stage, right training principle structure for the right stage. So about the menstrual cycle, a point to be noted. So we all know the menstruation happens for 28 days. The first 2 days and the last 2 days are the most discomfortable days. As we all know, that is during the period where severe pain can happen, or the first 2 days, the shedding of the lining of the womb happens, more bleeding happens, so the pain is more. After the 3rd day, 4th day, it strengthens. There is a very important research evidence that after the 3rd day, 4th day, the strength training can be given to the girl athletes after with the basic own body weight or with the weight training. So this during the period of follicular phase, there are 2 phases in the menstruation. The follicular phase, the first 14 days, the next 14 days will be your luteal phase, where the egg dies and the womb lining continues thickens. That is where the energy consumed is more. So you have a less load, less intensity, and less frequent training sessions. Then the girl athlete will perform better. So a coach should understand the details of the menstruation and the menstruation cycle. So then comes your stage 4 stage. Learn how to compete and create a confidence among the children in model competitions and becoming individualized program. This is the stage where the individual program happens, where the task for each individual is cut out and designed. It is a tailor-made program. Then comes your fifth stage of performance. During these stages, the coach should understand to develop the anaerobic energy system. In anaerobic energy system is the ATCP and the lactate system. Two systems are there which are performed in the absence of oxygen. So that the ATP-CP system lasts only for 0 to 6 seconds, whereas the lactate system 10 seconds to 3 minutes. Then after the age of puberty, or after the age of their lungs and heart becomes stronger, the aerobic system has to be developed, which operates between about 3 minutes to run to 2 hours. So why we say that young children should not be forced into running for marathon or 10 kilometers or 5 kilometers, because their lungs and heart are brittle, very tender, very soft. So the aerobic system gradually improves to the requirement of the individual at different stages. So the structure of the energy system, a coach should understand to manage of young athlete development. So we all know the fitness components, what is happening in coordination, because that is the basic thing. The coordination has to be developed with the strength. Without strength, the coordination cannot happen. So the strength has to combine with the coordination. And when the stages increase, when the stages go further, then you develop flexibility with speed, and finally your endurance, which culminates the fitness components. Then comes an important aspect of the coaches, where they play a major role. They have to manage who all, because the coach plays a major role in managing the athlete first. The first, he has to manage the athlete. The coach has to manage the athlete first. Then comes managing the parents. The parents are more important, because we are going to see what are the expectations and what is the disadvantages, or what is the obstacles encountered by the coach, and how to solve them. And the coach has to interact with the teachers of the athletes. And another one, the management or the institution or the organization. The management is nothing but the school management. Institution may be the academic or the other coaches or the sports council, or the organization may be a different academy with the athletic federation, or with the Tamil Nadu government or the government of India, or different countries organization. Then comes, last but not the least, your sponsors. Your sponsors, the coach has to manage, because that is a very vital thing for the training to happen efficiently and effectively at the right time. So let us see what are the qualities of a perfect coach. A perfect coach has to be a very good, great communicator. A communicator has to explain things very simply and make the opponent or the listener to understand completely. So a communicator has to believe in himself of the vision. So if you have a vision of the athlete, if you have a dream for the athlete, constantly speak about the dream and the vision to the athlete, because make him believe that it takes 15 years or 20 years of time to become a champion. And the feedback, the right feedback you should give, and get a right feedback from the athlete also. Getting a feedback is very, very important. The feedback, as you all know, first you start with the strong positive points of the performance of yours or the athlete. Then comes, discuss about the technical points, what is the objective of the activity. Then comes your kinesthetic feedback, what they feel, whether it was right or good or bad or wrong, whatever it is. Then comes, what are the corrections, what are the disadvantages, what are the mistakes they did, and how to correct it. Then that becomes a quality feedback. Then be dependable coach. To be a great coach, be dependable. So how much the athlete or anybody else can count on you. So say what you do and do what you say. That is the most important phrase for a coach. So if you say that I will be at 5 o'clock in the evening for training, definitely you should be 5 minutes before, which makes a difference. If you're 5 minutes late, that makes a different impact. So they should count on you, they should depend on you, so that there is a great famous saying that no books or no writing or no stories will have an impact, but your presence, your performance, you as a role model, you as an example can make them be dependable on you. That will become a great coach. Then comes the loyalty. Be loyal and respectable to the athletes. And you have to be loyal to the compatriots, the parents, their coaches, your co-compatriot, co-coaches. You have to be loyal. to your vision, to your academy, to your country, to your athletics fraternity, and to your dream of athletic performance. And make the athlete also feel to become loyal. When you become loyal, the athletes will even crawl on the broken glass. So very importantly, athlete will do anything for your purpose, because as I have also experienced that when the loyalty expressed by my coach, I will perform well in my ground. If my coach present is there, I will perform in a beautiful way and I give my best performance. But when my coach is not there, I have a little down, and the athletes will experience that loyalty is missing, or in the absence of it, they don't perform well. So be loyal to become a great coach. Then comes be an encourager. The most hunger in the world is for love and care, because that is absent, that is missing in this world. So every child wants an appreciation, wants an encouragement. So always say, encourage the athlete, encourage the child. Yes, I tell them, yes, hi, give a high five to them, and make sure that you see them and make them feel that you are watching them. So that will encourage them, make them, when they win, you support them and then tell what are the mistakes. When they lose, you motivate them and encourage them. So that is where how to be an encourager. That will make a perfect coach. Then comes be a teacher. Be a teacher. You have to be a great teacher, because a good teacher explains, a better teacher demonstrates, but an excellent teacher inspires. Because they say you have to love teaching, and as a teacher, don't teach them strategies and planning in the basics. You have to teach them the basic fundamentals, how to start, how to do this, what are the rules and regulations, what are the conditions. So you become a great teacher when you teach the basic fundamentals. So these are the qualities of a perfect coach. So as an athlete, see, many athletes come as for many purposes, many kinds are there. Some come for fun, some come to make friendship, some come to have a time pass, some come because the parents force them or the society forces them, some come with a vision. So many kinds of athletes are there. So handling situations, a coach has to handle the athlete and make them prepared to handle any situation. Suppose all of a sudden rain comes, all of a sudden the competition is postponed. After reaching the on your mark position, all of a sudden the competition is stopped. So the athlete has to be prepared to handle such kind of situations and make them very strong. When they lose or win, they have to enjoy and find out what mistake they've made. So that is the important role of a coach in managing the athlete. And they need attention. An expectation of a child is that attention is very important for each and every athlete. You cannot generally generalize all the athletes together. Each individual requires focus, because some needs more attention, some needs less attention, some need more focus. And the motivation factor is very important at every stages of the athlete. Motivation is a very important aspect where it plays a major role in performance and coming back to the ground with the same enthusiasm and make the athlete feel committed to their activity. So it is the responsibility of how can you make the athlete committed? So you have to inspire, you have to impress, you have to give the technical knowledge, the basic fundamentals, and educate them. That is how you can make the athlete committed for the activity. And reinforce the vision and the dream and the potential and the talent available of the child. And the doping education is very, very important for the athlete. The coach has to emphasize on doping education. Coming on to in the coming slides. And never allow the athlete to compare with other athletes. Let him compare with himself alone, of the individual. When they compare of themselves, that I have to do today the best of my ability than I was yesterday. So you have to compare, make the athlete feel to compare himself than the previous performance or the previous training session. So don't allow the athlete to compare with others, which may hinder indirectly and behind the screen of training. Then comes the parents. Parents, it's a very difficult aspect to handle parents. The parents major role, they play a major role in the child's growth and development. Why? Because in the present world, both the parents are working. So the parent expect a qualified expertise from a coach who is very prominent, who is knowledgeable, who is intelligent, who is patient, who can handle things. So parents expect a very good coach. Then comes the scope and doubts, because parents have a lot of doubts about coaching, training, the development, the growth of the children. Especially they are concerned of the girl child. The girl child, different stages, their emotional stability, their physical, their biological development, and the social development, and their religious compulsions, which makes a very important impact of the parents, for which the coach has to give a counter and justify what he's trying to say and convince them and make them believe to follow the same principles. Then comes your spending time. About the scope, parents are much expecting the scope of the performance of the athlete. I will be talking to it in the next slide, where the spending time is very important, because the parents come and leave the children and then go. The 2 hours of training, what is the question of parents sitting there in the ground and watching the children? If they are interested, make the parent to be interested, involve themselves. The principles of active involvement, not only for the children, but also for the parents, it applies, so that they get involved more. So to see the children perform, and what are the developments they, and what are the disadvantages, what mistakes they, how can they rectify, how parents can be an assistance to rectify those mistakes. Then comes a very big question of affordability, because many parents in a present situation, especially in Asian countries where the socio-economic conditions, the parents cannot afford to buy a pair of spikes for 10,000 rupees, or for example, for $100 or $150. And you can, they can afford only $10 or $20. So that becomes a very big question. So the coach has to manage that through various possible ways, by means of scholarship or sponsorship. Sometimes even coaches has to pay their money, spend their money, not only their time, not only their energy, but coaches has to manage the question of spending their money for the cause of the talent, to nurture the talent and make the child comfortable and make the parents believe that is happening. You should have various systems of affordability, so that the child's talent is not wasted or killed. So most of the parents expect too early performances, too early achievements. So as soon as they come and join today, they will ask, sir, my son will perform tomorrow as a world champion. They will perform 10.3 seconds straight away. So that expectations has to be explained. And the coach has to convince the parents how the stages of growth and development happens to the child, and allow the children to grow naturally at stage wise and train them. Then come the pressure from the school for the parents, the academic pressure for the parents, because most of the parents, they want their child to settle in life, definitely, and they will wish their child to perform well in the academics. And comparison with other children, other parents in the school, in the society, neighborhoods, all these comparisons will make the parents pressurized. So this is where the coach has to handle the pressure situation and make the parents believe in their roles, what they have to pay, what they have to play, because the coaches play a different role and the parents play a different role, so that has to be linked. And the parents also to be educated by doping, on education on doping, and what are the effects. We will be seeing the slides soon. So these are the counseling which I do every year. Around 2,000, 3,000 parents I counsel, and this is the place where at Coorg, at Karnataka, at Kerala, at Chennai, at Coimbatore, I address the children, I address the parents on different aspects of counseling to parents on the vision and growth and development of the children. And most importantly, we have a video analysis. You can see this third slide here. The video analysis, where the children, we take the running action and jumping activity of the video of the children and put them on the big screen. They are thrilled to see that first. Secondly, they can, their mind can read the mistakes what they perform, and they can rectify their subconscious mind, so that they perform the correct technique model. So this video analysis is a very special part, where the coach has to emphasize to ensure the children's technique. So we do that very professionally, and the children enjoy the video analysis to see themselves on the big screen, where the parents also allowed with the physios, with the doctors, and with the other coaches. So the most important question is, which is the parents will ask, because in my experience in my academy, one of the parents 15 years back, they asked me, sir, in which sport should I put my daughter, or to put my son? So this answer I evolved, and it can test the standard of fire forever, I believe. And the coaches who are attending this session can also throw a light on this. Any points can be added in this. First thing, the child has to be taken to a physical director or a coach in the school or in the university, so that to evaluate, to assess the basic potential or the talent available, the basic tests, for explosiveness, for speed, for strength, and evaluate the basic talent available. Once the assessment is ready, they have to look for the interest of the child, what interest or what passion the child has for, in which sport he is looking for in the television, in which sport he is looking for in the press or in the papers or in the documents, or in which sport he wants to play more, he wants to spend more time. So that interest has to be taken into consideration. Then comes the availability of a qualified expert coach in and around your area, nearby school. So that is the third important factor to decide the sport. Suppose if your son is or daughter is well qualified, has the potential to do archery, but there is no qualified coach around place, you have to shift the place if there's going to be a great vision to win a medal for Olympics for your country. Then comes last but not the least, the point is the scope of the sport has to be considered. When the scope of the sport is considered, then with these 4 parameters, you can choose the discipline of sports for the child. So considering this talent available, the interest available, the expert available, and the scope of the sport, the individual discipline of sports can be identified. And till 13 years or 14 years of puberty, the basic qualities, the motor abilities has to be developed. And after 14 years, then you can specialize on the skills and the discipline of sports. And later, after 18 years, 20 years, you can go to the performance stage. So this was the answer I gave to the parent, which I would feel all the coaches would agree to this. And this is the talent identification program. Every year we can conduct all around my state in Tamil Nadu. And we have a system, we have a data for last 20 years of 18,000 students. It's a massive data. And we are doing a lot of documentation in that. And here comes handling teachers, because most of the teachers and principal has a wrong mythology that sports and studies will not go hand in hand. But my teachers, my school teachers, my professor, and my athletics mentor, Dr. Vaidyanathan, Dr. Manavalan, my biology teacher, my maths teacher, they believed in me. They came on Saturdays, Sundays, and holidays to give me special coaching, but for which a sports person like me, who is the first doctorate among sports person in my country, my PhD holder, and made me a successful academician also, and made me to perform in athletics and perform in academics. So the teachers have to believe that a sports person also can study well. That is where the coach or the physical director or the trainer plays a major role to convince the teacher and the principal to avoid such academic pressures and adjust the school timings and constraints, and give them permission and give them extra time, convenient time to appear for examinations, and create more opportunities to support and nurture the talent of the child. Then comes the management or the organization or the ground authorities. The organization ground authorities, we need to get permission from the government or from the in charge of the ground for training your athletes at different timings, because there is a procedure to be followed. When the infrastructure used by you, the infrastructure should be by them or by yours has to be categorized. That is where the coach plays, because in most of the places, we don't find the infrastructure most convenient to our training methodologies or strategies. So it is the coach have to design the training methodologies and structure based on the equipments available, and ensure the equipments required for the training is available by themselves or by the parents or by the sponsors or by the organization. So the timing slot and any change of plan due to unavoidable circumstances, the coach has to manage and cater the needs to the athlete so that the athlete's performance is not disturbed. For example, late permissions in the schools, in the colleges, I give late permission letters requesting that this boy, this girl has a wonderful talent. So they may be permitted to attend the class or to attend the school 1 hour late. So this is a procedure so that the school and the organization may understand, depends upon the quality and the expertise of the qualified coach. Then comes your, for example, in my university, the university conducted examinations at my convenient date, but for which I wouldn't have completed my bachelor's of pharmacy. So there is a provision. So the schools or the universities have to conduct examinations in a very crucial stage where the competition cannot be avoided. So because that is where the coach has to plan and coordinate with the management and the teachers, so that your competition is planned or the training is planned according to the schedule of the school. The education system and the scholarships has to be managed by the coaches. So the coach has to give all the inputs to the teachers and the parents and the child, so that to encourage them, to motivate them, and to support, because the scholarship makes a lot of difference in the performance when they get a strong, confident mind in between, when they have their economical situation is much far better than the poor conditions. Then comes your doping education to athletes and parents. Doping education to athletes and parents. The athletes have to be educated as equal as parents also, because if you use doping medicines which can enhance your performance, and you lose your complete performance, career, your life. For that, you have to create an awareness of doping, where the coach has to know what is the effect of doping. That has to be conveyed to the children and to the parents. Because, for example, by having drugs, it can, after the age of 35, 40 years, you may have nervous disorders. So this is going to be a very big impact on your lifespan. That is why the philosophy says that athletes first, winning second. So the awareness of doping has to be created among the athletes and parents with the snippets, by pamphlets, by giving the list of drugs to be taken or not to be taken, and to be taken, and with the guidance or the advice, prescription of doctors. And without information to the doctor or the coach, athlete or the parent should not give the drug to the athletes. Even when you have a cold or a mild fever, the prescription has to be on the directions with the doctor and with the direction, with the consultation of the coach. Then comes your alert on frequent testing, because now the NADA, the National Anti-Doping Agency, and the WADA, World Anti-Doping Agency, are having a frequent testing. So alert on these athletes that you may be tested any time of the year. And you may be tested once you are in a state level, district level, national level competition. Alert them that when you are in the first finalist, all the 8 people will be tested. So these are the kinds of education on doping can be done to athletes and parents. And last but not the least, punishment is there for doping. If you're banned for 2 years, and if you're banned for 4 years, your athletic career is lost. So likewise, you lose your performance. It's not only your performance, you lose your character, you lose your value, you lose your total lifespan, of your complete self-respect in the society. So this punishment can affect you a complete life, not only your athletic career, but also your life. So based on this education, you can have a complete growth and development of an athlete. So this is the annual group photograph of different programs on different areas in different schools and different years. This was the photograph taken at various times, and where all the children, all the coaches are there inside. All the national level coaches are also part of this academy, serving the children sports fraternity. Especially we specialize on specific athletic training kids program. And last but not the least, let me conclude that science helps in coaching. So science is a part of coaching. Definitely, I agree with that. But coaching is not only science, but it has to be athlete-centered, it has to be science-based and coach-driven, because athletes' welfare importance requirement is very important. And that plays a major role. Then comes the science-based, how the athlete can be developed on the assistance or the informations or the usage of science. Then comes the coach has to drive in every aspect of the stages of the athletes. And finally, this will lead to, beyond this, coaching becomes an art. So it becomes an art. So I believe that this session was very, very useful to each and every one of the coaches who are handling children, especially the youth. Managing the youth is the biggest task. And especially in a classroom, handling children is very difficult. And managing youth in all these parameters it makes a world of difference for all the coaches. I'm sure this will make an enriching knowledge for all the coaches to develop a young athlete in the long-term athletic development and perform at the world-class athletics. Thank you so much, one and all. And thank you to the World Athletics, the ADC Area Development Center, Jakarta, and their team for their excellent cooperation and giving me this first opportunity of presenting my first international webinar. I'm sure this was an excellent one, and I would open the floor for asking questions or discussions on my presentations.
All right, thank you to Dr. Arun Tarajan for the good presenting. So now I open to question and answer session. Participant can give or put your question at chat room or directly ask the speaker. So we look at the chat room. Got the question from the participant for Dr. Nataraja.
Yes.
Good morning,
yes.
sir. I don't have a ground in my school for a proper athletics training, but I'm having an indoor with cement flooring. So is it advisable to make the kids running in that? Give me a suggestion, please, sir.
Yeah,
Right.
that is a very good question. That is a very good question. I would also compare the same situation like what we are undergoing now in this pandemic situation of Corona, because most of the athletes are not going to the ground, but they are practicing in the rooftop. But ensure that you don't have the children jumping on the hard surface for a longer period of time, because you can have a minimum load of their own body weight to jump on the or run on the hard surface, and ensure the strengthening of your shin bone, strengthening of your joints before running or jumping on the hard surface, so that you can reduce the number of sessions. For example, what we do is that what I have experienced in my experience, and it is suggested very strongly with an evidence that 4 to 5 sessions in a week is more than sufficient for a children training. In that 4 to 5 weeks, it is also training in a synthetic track is almost equivalent to a hard surface in the cement surface. So because there is likely to have a shin bone fracture. So to have a shin bone to avoid shin bone fracture, you have to strengthen your shin muscles, your anterior and your posterior tibialis muscle. So when you train your anterior posterior tibialis muscle with dorsiflexion strengthening exercise, your shin bone and your joints become stronger. Your ankle stability, your knee stability has to be stronger. So don't give continuous training on the hard surface. You can have variety of training, strength and conditioning, fitness, activity, agility, mobility, and little bit of jumps on the hard surface, so that you can combine all this activity, so that in this last 100 days in this pandemic situation also, all the children are doing without any pain and doing in the rooftop in the concrete surfaces.
All right. Hello. So the second question, Dr. Anantarajan.
Yes, sir.
All right. Which type of exercise we can give in the puberty period? Puberty period. Which type of exercise we can give in the puberty period?
Yeah, in the puberty period, because that is where the transformation of neuronal changes to hormonal changes happens. So during the there is a windows of opportunities taking place. Your speed window, your strength window, and then comes your skill window. So these are the main important aspects during puberty has to be, because that is where the growth spurt is maximum. The peak height velocity happens. So during the stage, you have to maintain the basic fundamentals of motor skills and the basic strength, and increase your specialization skills. So that will be more effective during this period.
All right. Maybe the last question from participant from Muzi, I think so. How do you deal with absent parents? Parents never show up for their kids and make zero contribution, and the best they can do is becoming the one of the obstacle in the sporting development of their kid. How do we deal that?
Exactly. That is a very good question. That is a very good question, because parents has to get that interest. So it is a responsibility of the coach to create interest among the parents to ensure to come and watch their children. For example, in my state, we conducted a floodlight tournament for children, floodlight district level, state level competition for children. So we had the maximum number of participation so that the parents finish their day's work, office work or school work, everything, and then they come sit relaxedly and sit and watch their children performing under floodlights for the first time. So these are small techniques to create interest among the parents and the children to have more participation, and athletics has to be become more popular, and more advertisement on interest creating performance has to be made. That is an important role of a coach, where he impresses, not only impress, but also inspires by motivating the athletes and the children and the parents. When the athletes are motivated, the athletes will go tell the parents, convey the message strongly, and ensure that parents are present there to see their children perform.
All right. So the next question, maybe last two questions, from Ardava Tiru. Shall we give the competition between boys and girls in the practice session?
Pardon, come back, please.
Shall we give the competition between boys and girls in the practice session?
We have to analyze. It is a tailor-made. I told you the structuring of the training, because training adaptation is a very important response of the individual. And changes happening during the training. So we have to analyze whether the individual is capable of competing with a boy or a girl. And if they are at equal performance, I don't find any difficulty in making them to perform. But in case, if there is a variation in their potential, the capacity and the performance, then we should not allow them to participate together or train together.
All right, maybe the last question for you, Dr. R. Natarajan. How many hours will be preferable for a session for age 10 to 12 years old and 13 to 16 years old? If we talk about developmental training, how many hours?
How many hours in a week? In a week, I would prefer in a country like India. I would prefer 8 to 10 hours a week. In a country like Indonesia, where the school timings are between 7 o'clock to 1 o'clock, and evening session, they have more time to spare, and they can spend around 10 to 12 hours or 10 to 14 hours for the age between below 13 years, because that is more than sufficient. They have to give a lot of regeneration for their growth and development. For the age between 13 to 15, they are in the important stage of puberty, where the skill has to be developed. That is the second stage or the third stage of the biological. When they are entering, they have to spend more time. Probably 14 to 16 hours will be ideal for a week. So 4 to 5 sessions in a week will be ideal, and ensure that they have the basic fundamentals and the specific principles of training to be followed. And finally, at the end of the day, they should be happy and enjoying the session.
All right. So maybe the participant clear about the answer from you, Dr. R. Natarajan. I hope the person enjoy and then gain the knowledge from your presenting. So next, I will invite.
I would like to ask a suggestion on the question of the parent who asked me at the age of 10 years, what sport should be decide for the child. So I gave 4 points. Can anybody in the floor can suggest me some other points, or everybody accept these 4 points? The evaluation, the interest of the child, evaluation of talent of the child, interest of the child, the expertise available, qualified coach available, and the scope of the sport. Other than these 4 points, how to decide? Can anybody give a suggestion, or everybody accepts this point?
For me, I am safe.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I hope Dr. Ria will also second to this suggestions.
Yeah. So Dr. R. Natarajan, maybe you can answer the question at the chat room, because got a question from the participant also. So maybe next, I invite Maria to lecture about training for young athlete. Maria, you ready to present?
Yeah, sure. I'm ready.
Oh, okay. I know you're ready.
Okay, thank you, Pala. Good morning, coaches and everybody. Oh, I just hear very nice presentation from Dr. Natarajan, very powerful presentation. No compromises, never compromise. So that's very good word that I learned from him, and I learned from his presentation. It's very nice presentation. I congratulate to Ms. Dr. Natarajan. I think everybody happy with his presentation. So my presentation will be training for young athlete, but here the young athlete is more from the fundamental that Dr. Natarajan already discussed much about the fundamental. And I will go to the another part of the fundamental is what we call it about build up, training build up. So that means we'll do later from Dr. Narajan with the fundamental, then I come to the build up. But I will do also some fundamental little bit regarding this presentation. The first, we know already that we have many theory regarding the training pathway. So here from Bali, for example, we can see many steps of training pathway: active start, fundamental, learn to train to train, train to compete, and train to win. So this is from the Bali. The other side from Bompa is a multilateral development and specialized training and high performance. So from Dr. Natarajan, we hear a lot about the multilateral development. This is very nice presentation. And I think we learn a lot from him, how to handle the children, not only from the technical training, but also how to manage the children. That is very important. So now I will start with another approach of the training for young athlete. This actually we have basic training and build up training. So here the basic training will be same like what Dr. Nadan says. It's about the physical literacy. So I think this will be very great opportunity to talk about it with Dr. Natarajan. And also he talked about the parent. What is the role of the parent? What is the role of the teacher? What is the role of the important person around the children? So now we will maybe come up with the detail of the training. So I would like to explain a little bit about the first basic training, and the second one is build up training. So here, Dr. Nadan said about the windows opportunity. So I see in the windows opportunity, when we have the children from 6 to 11, especially for girl, it will have to do the skill windows and then speed windows. How we do it, of course, skill window and speed window is very important for the children, because skill windows is make sure that kids can move and can have many things to do. So that's very important. That means skill windows is also window opportunity for the children to do many things, to do many movement. That is very important. And the speed windows in this fundamental, we have to give it a fun, because we call it fundamental. So that means fun games with the speed. So this is very important for the children, because of our step will be make the children enjoy the sport. Don't make the children out from the sport. So and for the boy, I think the similar, but the boy normally 2 years late than girls. So here the structures is still the same: skill windows, speed windows, strength windows, and aerobic windows. So in this opportunity, you as a coach have to give many things regarding the movement for the skill and the speed training, strength training, aerobic training window. So for example, in the fundamental, we see a lot of games for the kids, because we need to provide them physical literacy, bodily kinetic intelligence, basic movement, skill training, conditioning, stabilization. But for the children, it's good to put together in one movement, in one game. For example, if you see the picture here, the kids play with the game that is very challenging. They have put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 together. Then he choose the number and also the movement. That means his brain working, and also his body is also working. If you see in Indonesia, for example, we have this game like this. I think this also challenging games, because The down one is the children with the woods, and the other one have to jump according to the rhythm. So the rhythm is very important because the movement of the rhythm in the children age is make them easy to adapt the situation. Of course, some problem here is so many children, but one moving. But you can create another game that many children can move together, for example. So that one is for the physical literacy is very important. What we do in the physical literacy and body kinetic intelligence is about how to move and thinking. So here, when we see about the physical literacy, we have to able to motivation to use our human potential to improve quality of life. So that means when children walking together, when children play together, when children move together, this will up them human potential and improve quality of life. So make sure that they can able to do safety in life or maybe social in life. So then we have dependent on culture. So what your culture actually? You staying in the dormitory or you staying in the apartment or you staying in the village? So depend on the situation. Sometimes you have many games. So for example, now in our age or in children now is not much playing with together because we staying in the apartment, or maybe the apartment then doesn't have any what the facilities for that. Then we have a movement with the whole economy and confidence in a wide range of physically challenging situation. Of course, this is what we say already. Then ability to read movement situation. This is very important because we now a lot of things that we have to adapt. So that means the children have to see what they have to move. So develop a well-established sense of the embodied self, self-esteem, and self-confidence. So of course, the children need to do that. And in many countries, the children feel not free. They always care about the adult people. So now the time that we have to make the children good in the self-confidence, good in outspoken, then I think they will be very active and they will be creative. And also they will do many movements that, as Ms. Dr. Natarajan said, it can be the neuronal variability. And fluent self-expression through the nonverbal communication, of course, this is very important, and understanding the principle of embodied health and such exercise, sleep, and nutrition. So Dr. Natarajan already discussed about that. And actually here, the physical literacy depends on the environment also. For example, in preschool situation, what the parent doing? In the school situation, what the teacher doing and what is another student doing? Community. So what is our community? What is the children community? Recreation leaders, they make a good program or they just let the children do? Teachers, parents, and everything. So there's all the environment that can make the children physical literacy better. So here we come to the learn to train physical literacy activities. I don't want to read all, but this is very important. There's a continuing program that children have to do many things in sport. It's not only one sport, but also another sport. Not only in one sport, they not only do the same position, but sometimes he has to do more position in the playing, for example, or maybe goal getter, or maybe back player, or maybe front player, or maybe middle fielder, and so many things that you have to try. So keep sport and physical activity in fun for the children. This is very important. So when we give opportunity to the children to do more activities in sport, according to BOMPA, comparing to early specialization, because now is a lot of sport with the professional sport. So many parents want to do tennis, many parents want to do golf, many tend to do one sport for the children because the professional. And the other side, they got a lot of things from the professional sport. But the problem here, when you compare between early specialization and multiracial program, BOMPA said that the early specialization, of course, quick performance improvement because they concentrate, focus on one sport. And multilateral program, slower performance improvement. And the second one is best performance achievement in 15 to 16 years of age because of quick adaptation. But in the multilateral program, best performance at 18 years and older, the age of physiological and psychological maturation. That means this will be very consistent performance in competition, not only one peak, but multiple peak. It's only not 1 year, but maybe multiple years. But on the other side, early specialization can be inconsistent performance in competition. Sometimes he or she got good, very good performance, but another time is very low. So many athletes burn out and quit the sport by the age of 18 years. That means by having early specialization, sometimes we train too hard to the children. So that means after 18 years, it will be collapse. Longer athletic life in multilateral program and prone of injury because of force get better performance in the beginning, but later it will not be handled for a long time. But for multilateral program, if you not so many injury, then they can speed longer athletic life or performance life. Now our question is finding the right sport. So there's something like talent identification. So for example, in Australia, we have SportShirt, how to find a correct sport for the children. And in Indonesia, we have talent identification. Maybe in Canada, we have SportFit. And in every country, I think they have strategy, how to find the right sport for the children. So it's not easy, of course. That's why we have to find out how to do it. Because when we, for example, the parent likes soccer, so he bring the student or the children to soccer. Maybe the child is not good for soccer, but because of the parent soccer player, so they want to do the children always in soccer player and the other sport also. For example, Dr. Natarajan is sprinter, so he asked the child is a sprinter also. But we have to find the right sport for our children. Then after we find the right spot of our children, then we come to the build-up training. Now we already see the perspective of the children regarding the sport. There are so many sports, but the children already choosing one of the good or better sport for him, and parent helping, teacher help, coach play good big role to choose which sport is good for the athlete, young athlete. So the brain will think about what kind of sport or event I will do better than the other. So this normally will be in the 13 to 15 years old. That's why in the 13 and 15 years old, we have a talent identification program. We will place the athlete in which sport they like. And we will start with the training. So what is the training in this age? Basic movement. So of course, they have to do the basic movement, sport movement. I mean, this is basic sport movement. So technical skill training, conditioning, stabilization, specific movement, technical training, and specific conditioning. This is very important because we have to give the athlete more modality. If they have a lot of modality, they will move better later. So here, for example, we have skill training. So we're looking for the strategic and tactical training approach to make sure that the athlete can see the perspective of the sport better. So what actually the objective of when they're playing sport? What is actually the goals in the future when we have to do the sport? So the skill must be better and better. So they come from the cognitive, then you do automatization. So this is very important touch for the coaches to make sure the athlete not only just do, but also they know and they understand and they get the tactical and strategic to do the sport. Then here is technical training. You can see that in the technical training, the athlete have to do many way. For example, he want to throw something, but they do to throw with a different implement, different thing to throw, and also the distance, and also the way they throw. Not only throw far, but sometimes also throw accuracy. They have to throw accurate. On sometimes they throw with the unmoving object. Sometimes they throw to the moving object. So that means children have many experience regarding the movement. So neuronal variability. They have one goals, but many things to do. And the next one is build up training for the conditioning. So after they train about the neuronal situation, like technique and scale, then they can also build up with the conditioning training. So you have to use many apparatus and methods how to develop our athlete conditioning. So here, for example, in the picture, we can see when they're using ladder. Ladder can use for many coordination exercise, also the rhythmic exercise, and the other exercise that strengthen the muscle in the leg or else maybe also in the arm and in the body. So that means by using the ladder, we can train many training means. And for example, that the training can be using by the medicine ball. Medicine ball also can train all the body part of our body, so they can use many exercises. And also running, of course, running and maybe obstacle running or maybe a hurdle or maybe a ladder. So we can use so many exercise using different apparatus of the training. So that's very important because children will reach of movement. Children will have many things to do with many apparatus and many experience, and this will be good in the future when they do many things. For example, also with the medicine ball stabilization, or maybe with normal stabilization, core stabilization, this is very important because the core is controlling the body. When you have a young athlete not in the good in shape of stabilization of the body, it will be difficult to move. That's why you have to do the program about stabilization. And stabilization can be also done with many part or many level of stabilization. For example, the light one we can do in the A. This is light one from the frontal bridge or maybe back bridge or maybe lateral bridge. But you can do at the B. And when the athlete can do better, then they can move to the B program, then to the C, then more difficult to the D and to the E. That is very important training because they will set up the stabilize of the body. You know that in our body, we have the muscle that stabilize of the body. Yeah, for example, the core muscle. This is very important. And when you did the program for the young athlete, you have to make sure the athlete not give up earlier, but make sure the athlete can do more and more exercise according to the time, volume, and intensity can be came later. So then can be also using the circuit training. This is also very useful mean of training or method of training because we can train the local and whole body exercise for the athlete. We can train from agonist muscle to the antagonist muscle. We can train to the general movement together and specific movement and muscle and cardio respiration. So that's very important because the circuit training is one of the challenging training, the variety training, and it's a very fun training for the young athlete. And you can create the training for the circuit training by using the volume, intensity, set, and recovery, and you can do better for them. And this one is general training. Actually, this is build up muscle. When you want to build the muscle, you have to use the bodyweight training first. Then you can use the light implement first. Then after the technical of lifting is good, you can come to the optimal training. Because if your technique not good, then will be injured the athlete when you put the weight. So that's why we have to train without the weight first, then with the light implement, for example, like a dumbbell. Then later you can use bars, or maybe later you have used barbell. Then when the technical lift is good, you can continue with the put the load, and you can manage to have the load more. So when will be here in the age or the chronological age? For example, a woman can start with this weight, with this heavy weight, is 16 years old, but boy only can start after 17 years. Why? Because according to the growth and development, as Mr. Natarajan say, is different little bit between girls and boys. And also after 17, only the boys can have a good technical lift, and then can additional weight, for example. So here, for example, another side, you can see the dumbbell shrug. So the shrug is how to lift the dumbbell up, then dumbbell squatting, then later only the barbell squat. So that means you have to train the technical lift first, technique before load. That is very important. So when you have young athlete, you have to train the technical first, how to lift the dumbbell, how to lift the barbell, how to lift the bar. Then only you can lift the weight. So here, for example, why I provide you the shrug to clean and jack and maybe power clean and snatch, because you know the red line here, that by having the power clean, we have the movement together. We have the kinetic link. Kinetic link mean when you come from this joint, come to another joint, then come to the hip joint and shoulder joint, then to come to the arm joint. That means the athlete move all the part of the body, whether must be with the harmonious movement. Harmonious movement mean you have kinetic link. Kinetic link mean from the ankle joint, knee joint, hip joint, and shoulder joint, then to the wrist joint. So that's very important movement for the training for young athlete. Without this training, sometimes athlete only can move part by part. I know that the coaches, a lot of coaches doing the part by part training. It's okay, but the problem is when the athlete use the movement in sport, they're not part by part. In the sport, we often use whole movement like this. So we use the kinetic link. We use together. When you want to spike in the volleyball, or maybe you want to shoot in the basketball, you have to do from down like position, go to up the position. So that means you have to do all like this together, all the muscle, all the joint together. So that's kinetic. So then here also the same training, but this is snatch. You have to train your athlete to do the technical snatch. The first, of course, without weights can be done, or maybe you can use the dumbbell, medicine ball, or maybe use another apparatus. Then later you can use the barbell, and you can measure the maximal of the barbell lifting. So here, make sure that your athlete good technique. So don't do with the weight before good technique. For example, here, this one is with the only with the light weight. This is a dumbbell power clean. And here, after the technique is good, he or she can do with the weight. The technique is exactly same, but only thing the weight is different. Don't start with the weight before you come to the technique. So see, the technique must be good first, then you come to the weight. Never come to the weight before the technique is good. So this is very important. Why? If you technique is not good, you come direct to the weight, this can be injury and can be, it's too early. Maybe the development of the athlete or the growth of the athlete will be problem. So lifting technique important, safety, then gradually increase the load when the technique is fixed and stable. That is very important thing. Okay, now just to resume, when you train your athlete muscle, make sure you train not only part of the muscle, part of the body, but you also make sure that athlete can use kinetic link. Kinetic link mean that you can use all the body together. Here, from the foot, then go to the knee, hip, and shoulder, then elbow, then wrist, then use together in the link. So from leg, trunk, shoulder, elbow, wrist together. Make sure you're able to do this exercise using the kinetic link. This is very important. Then start with the big muscle, of course, because the big muscle is the prime muscle to move the body. So you have to learn a little bit about the anatomy and physiology. Anatomy tell us about what the function of the muscle. You have to understand what is the muscle move, how the muscle get the force. Then we also to train agonist, antagonist muscle. It's not only front muscle, but also back muscle. Not only bicep, but also tricep. Not only quadricep, but also bicep muscle. So all have to train agonist, antagonist to make sure that athlete have very stable ability and very complete ability and very good in the balance. Then muscle sling. Muscle sling work like this. So sometimes when you do from the lateral like this, you can come from the back here, but the other side is not the right line like this, but sling the line. So that means when you work here, then we'll be here also working. Yeah. So there's muscle sling. Then muscle recruitment. Muscle recruitment tell us about what muscle can be active when you do the training program, when you do the load, light load, medium load, heavy load, how muscle recruited. So that is also very important because when you want to do, for example, strength endurance, which muscle involved? When you do the power or maximal strength, which muscles improve? When you do the muscle recruitment nicely, then body will do the better intermuscular coordination. That's why you do muscle recruitment, better muscle recruitment, then the intermuscular and intramuscular coordination will be working well for the athlete. Make sure you include all the muscle when you train for young athlete. Yeah, but it's also be careful because the technique must be well done and fixed. Then you can come to the another exercise important. And eccentric and concentric muscle. A lot of coaches only concerned about the concentric muscle. Concentric mean when muscle work, the muscle is stretched. Shortening. That's concentric. But actually, when the muscle work, it's not only concentric. They work on eccentric also. For example, here, this is eccentric, and here concentric. When you just land it, it will be eccentric. The muscle lengthen, stretch, but working. Here, when muscle jump, of this will be shortened and look like the power. So that means a lot of coaches only concerned about this. But actually, you have also concerned about the eccentric. So I think this is not just short explanation. It should be done with a good sample and demonstration later. But for the easier thing, you train about the plyometric. Plyometric is eccentric and concentric muscle work. This is stretch and shortening muscle. Okay. Now we come after we learn about the general training, then we have to come to the specific training. Here, the sport-specific condition training. Before we talk about that general conditioning training. So how now? After athlete good in body proportion, after athlete good in technical, after athlete good in the skill, then we can come to the specific conditioning for the athlete, for the young athlete. So here, there's also something that we can come from the fundamental, then sport-specific skill. For example, javelin throw, baseball pitch, badminton, tennis, serve, reading, pass overhand, volleyball serve, and everything. So now you concentrate on the specific, how to do the conditioning for the specific muscle. For example, in soccer, when we see in the soccer here, how to execute the movement, execution. So athlete will do this, but he or she has to control also the movement. It's not only execution of the movement, but also to control the movement. This, for example, the picture. But here, how to control? We have to differentiation ability. So athlete has to understand the ball is good for him or for the friend. The ball will be great if you stop and kick or direct first time kick. So you have to be control. You have to understand what is the movement later after you control already. Then precision. So reaction ability. So when the ball in the situation that is not just you control, but other people also there, you have to react. This ability to react is very important. The ability to adapt and adjust. So in the soccer, it's not simple movement, it's very complex movement. And not only close skill, but it's open skill because many people involved in the movement. So you can't move only yourself. Another player will interrupt you, or maybe your friend also asking you to give the ball to him. So this is not easy. So that means you have to control, precision, pace, combination, and variability. So again, the variability is very important because sometimes you never know what situation you will face in the playing, in the games. So that means you have to do the variability situation. The coach must give so many situations to the athlete: rhythmic ability, balance ability, orientation ability, vision. So this is very important for the soccer player to have the good vision. It's not only to the ball. While he dribbling the ball, he have to see also friend. He has to control also the opponent. Have to see also the perspective of the field. So that means this has to be done in the young athlete. So the young athlete not only learn about the technical aspect, but also have to learn about the execution movement and control movement and all the vision of the motoric ability. Here we have some time training like this because they will do something that in the games it will happen. So here, for example, for the tennis player, sometimes you have to catch the ball a little far from her or from him, but he has to do the resistance bends. So after the body, with the general preparation, with the general ability, with the general conditioning, then she or he have to come to this specific ability with the real play or maybe with the real movement in the sport, but with the additional load. And here, what sport you guess? I think you know what sport is this. This one is, for example, for rugby. Yeah, so they have to do like this, but this is for adult coach, but maybe for young athlete, you can do differently. But principally, this is specific for the conditioning of the rugby player, for example. And this specific conditioning for tennis player, for example, and this is for soccer. So now you know the difference between the general conditioning and specific conditioning. The general conditioning is to build up the muscle, to build up the technique, to build up all the aspect of the body and the movement of the athlete and all the muscle, all the feeling, all the aspect. And here now is very specific movement that you need in the sport. This is soccer, for example. This is tennis, and this is rugby, for example. Okay, so this one is when we talk about the specific conditioning. When we talk about the training plan of the athlete or the situation of the athlete training, young athletes start with this, but not all of them come to this point. This is the objective point after maybe 18 years. But sometimes when we see the untrained athlete, they will do this position like this. This by nature, they will come up. But actually, this one is better than the overtrained athlete. Overtrained athlete come here, to here is okay, or even sometimes come here up. But after that, they will be slowing down and maybe will be collapsed because of the training. That's why the coach can help the athlete come up here, but the other side, the coach also can make the athlete down here. So that way, as a coach, we have to be careful. We have to train carefully. We have to plan the training well. Because when we fail to plan, we plan to fail. So that is what Mr. Gunter Lange said yesterday. So now we come to the load. Which load we have to maintain? Which load we have to provide to the athlete actually? We have neuromuscular load. This one is the most important that we talk in the young athlete. Young athlete must be done the neuromuscular load. This must be coordination, good rhythm, good in movement, reach of motion. So then the other one is structural load. Structural load is load when your athlete put the weight repeatedly, maybe it will be impact in the joint, maybe in the knee joint, or maybe in the elbow joint, or maybe in the ankle joint. It's a lot of structural load that happen because of volume of training, or maybe high intensity training. So that means you have to see, we have to control the structural load. What we have to do with this. And mental load, of course. We have to do the mental load for our athlete and metabolic load. We see our energy system. When you run long, you will be in the aerobic system. When you run short, you will be in the anaerobic system. But when you run between, you run fast but long, it can be with a good training for speed endurance, for example, but it's also impact on the metabolic load. Mean maybe lactic acid accumulation. So that means we have to be careful. Lactic acid is no more opponent, but sometimes lactic acid is a friend. But we have to maintain. We have to arrange with a better training plan. Here, this is the most important for young athlete: neuromuscular, central nervous system. Half of cerebrum is moving, ask the athlete to do something with the muscle. So that means the athlete will go to the targeted performance movement. But through this information from the brain, cerebrum, then central nervous system. So that means it's very important to have good skill before higher repetition and intensity. But you have to set up how the athlete understanding, how athlete move, how athlete can learn from the movement according to the correct movement, from the coordination movement, neuromuscular coordination. So you, as a coach, you have to control, not with the time. Time is for control the intensity or to control how many repetition. But neuromuscular is how to use the coach's eye. You have to see the athlete move, whether the movement is good or bad, whether the movement is wrong or correct. So we have to control this. Throw your stopwatch, throw your counting, but see what the athlete do, better, correct or not correct. So your observation, your coach's eye is very important in this part, neuromuscular. When the athlete already good, then you can concentrate on the speed. You can concentrate in the how many repetition. You can concentrate on the minute. But the comparison between the volume, intensity, as recovery will be done with the neuromuscular system. And the second one, as I said, that we have also structural movement, structural load, that our athlete joints work in long duration. They need the buffering because when they are walking too long, this joint, this will be work too hard. The structure, this one is structure. So how to buffer? Sometimes we have to bring the athlete to the running in deep water. This is running in deep water. He or she doesn't touch the floor, but they can run like this with the forming of running. Then can be little bit with what is life vest you can use, so it be easier. So why we do this? Because we need them to do volume. They want to do the volume in training, but not always running in the land. But it can sometimes to do this to cover the higher volume. This especially in the aerobic sport, we have to do more volume. When the athlete doing more volume, they have to do sometime with this training to maintain the structure of the body. It's not too hard. But sometimes also we can to play with this situation. This actually is not just structural load, but also this one, something like how to manage the athlete heavier running action situation. You have to form the running action good, but also make resistant with the water. But you know that in the landing place here it's easier because the water can bring you to the up. But the problem is when he run like up the knee here, this will be more resistant. When you down here, it's also more resistant. So the muscle working good, but the structure is good because this one doesn't work too much. And you can control the body posture here. Whether the work is with the kinetic link, good kinetic link between this joint and this joint, this joint and this joint. and you can control actually the movement, and in the same time you give a resistance, more resistance, but you save the structural. That is very good training actually for the young athlete. Don't give the young athlete always in the same place. Sometimes you have to move to another place. As a coach, you have to be creative. Neuronal variability. You have to give many activities, but save the athlete and control the technique. Yeah, so this is very important. Then the next is metabolic load. This is also dangerous, but also important because you have to play with the energy system. Mr. Natarajan gave you already the kind of energy system, how you work in the sprint with a short duration. It can be anaerobic, or you can working in a long duration with the aerobic system, or maybe running between that one. So be careful when you're working in the lactate energy system for young athlete. You have to control the volume. What is the volume? What is the intensity? What is the recovery? That must be well controlled because you have to make sure the athlete have enough load and recovery. Because the training is only load, but training is recovery. Training is not only volume, training is not only intensity, but training is also how to give the recovery to make sure the athlete can adapt the training load to be performed. So here, for example, when you do the young athlete to training, you have to progress, of course. And you have the young athlete, you just progress in 1 and 2 progress. But in the 3rd week, you have to give better regeneration for the athlete. So 2 week progress and 1 week recovery, for example. Or 2 days can be up and 1 day recovery. That's why the young athlete training volume is not that much the senior athlete, and frequency also not that much. This is for the late teens. Can be 1, 2, 3 up progress, then can be regression in the fall. So that means you see here the step up from here to this system. 1, 2, 3, and this 1, 2, 3, 4. For the adult athlete can be 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 5th can be give regeneration. So that means you will have to control the athlete training volume, intensity, and also recovery system. Okay, so here the guideline. Start with low intensity, progress with volume. So when you start, you don't start with a high intensity. You have to start with low intensity, but technically good. Central nervous system working good. Yeah. Then progress duration of training session. Or maybe you can start with the 60 minutes for young athlete. Then it can be 75 minutes. Then it can be the 90-minute training session. Progress the number of exercise. So it's not only one exercise. I mean, the number of exercise can be also one exercise, but can be variety exercise. So that means you have give variety exercise, but maybe the objective is the same. But maybe here you can give many exercise with many objectives. Then develop the frequency of training session. You can do from 3 training sessions a week. Can be after next month or another 2 months. Can be go to the 2 or 3 time or 4 time frequency. Then later you can go progress the intensity when our athlete is ready. When the running technique is good. Okay, I think we have a co-lecturer here. So we have to progress the intensity when the athlete ready. The movement already good, the technical already set up. Then we will do the good, better intensity to develop. That's why in the training program, the intensity only come up after the specific preparation. For example, in the general preparation, we concentrate on the volume. Avoid overtrain or underload because you will waste the time. By having overtrain, your athlete will maybe sick, never come to the sport again because it's feel not good. But underload, you will waste the time. You train long time, but it's not good because it's underload. It's not make the athlete good adaptation. So I think this one is just information to make you thinking about how to discuss about the situation. I think this one is when the competition is begin. So the young athlete can do competition just with fun, and here with the junior level international and the senior level international. So you have to prepare before this. This is the important, because we talk about the young athlete. So we have to plan before the situation, what we do here. So this is more important for us to do that. Yeah, there may be, minimum age for track and field is 14. For example, kids athletic, or maybe another event that is easy to do. So then junior level, senior level. So the gymnastic is maybe easier here. Only 14 can do many competition. For women can be 12, men 14. So this just to check it. Durability is part of what the great athlete doing. So that means you need to be patient. You have long-term training, because duration is make the great athlete. But you need also rest. That's why have a quality rest. Not only long-term rest, but quality rest is very important. Okay, this is my presentation for today. I hope you can ask questions, and thank you very much. Pak Lah, I give the time back to you.
All right, Maria, thank you for the good presenting. So now participants can give your question at chat room. So we got the question for you, Pak Ria.
Sure.
Right. First, for the first question is, how to measure mental load, and how long time need to proper recovery after mental load? So,
You mean mental load?
yeah.
Okay. So I don't talk too much about the mental, because I'm not expert on the mental. Maybe sometimes my mental also not too healthy. That's why I just keep the mental. But of course, Mr. Natarajan will help me also. Okay, so we have to see regarding the mental load. Mental load is actually not only come from the real mental load. Mental load sometimes come from the physical load. Because when you athlete in the general preparation, they will train many times, many repetition, volume, high volume. It also can be kick the mental of the athlete. So the athlete actually need not only physically rest, but also mental rest. It will be higher when they come to the specific preparation, because they already have a challenge to have the better performance. They think the physical is better, then the mental is also feel great. But sometimes the physical is not good. It's not running what they want to do. The pressure of mental also high, and even in the competition situation. So that means the athlete many pressure for the mental. So we have so many training for the mental, for example, autogenic training for the recovery system. Then we have to the mental training for the technical and competitive system. So that means we have to set up the specific mental training. Yeah, because when we talk here about mental training here, it's maybe can be a little bit difficult at time, because we talk about the physically. Yeah, but maybe we will provide another mental training session. Yeah, then we can do better. But of course, when we do the mental training, we need some time to adapt the situation like the competition. So mental training, competition mental training. So maybe 1 week before competition, we already do the mental training, Jacobson, or maybe another, or maybe the autogenic and everything. So we can use mental training on behalf of the normal situation, real situation in the competition. So this is very important situation and very good question, but the answer is very long, actually. So how to take the recovery? Of course, the recovery sometimes can be the same like the training, normal training, because when you do the good mental training, your pulse rate also higher when you think about the competition. But sometimes you pressure of the mental also higher. So that means you have to do clearly what your objective on the mental training. You want to train in the relaxation, you want to train about the technical, or you want to train about competitive situation. So that it is my answer, Pak Lah. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe Dr. Natarajan want to answer the question.
Can be add something.
Yeah, can be add.
I think though Ria told that he is not a mental person, he is a very strong person. He has answered very well and covered all the points. because the objective of the training has to be told, the objective of the competition has to be told in advance, so that the individual prepares mentally what he has to perform or what is expected to perform. What are the principles to be followed, what are the technical instructions given, and how he has to perform. So that mental aspect, when he replays the complete action in his mind, then the action performed in the field will be perfect. So that is the training the subconscious mind and keeping the mind stronger while performing. And then when you overcome that, your confidence, your fear, your anxiety will be smashed. So you can be more confident in performing in the ground. Thank you.
All right. So maybe from the participant want to give a question. Maybe from Sikil iPhone. Sikil, raise hand already. So maybe you can directly ask the question to Pak Ria or maybe to Dr. Natarajan. So you can unmute your microphone and ask the question to our speaker.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello. Assalamualaikum. I'm audible.
Yeah.
So I want to ask something from Sir Ria, Dr. Riyam Kanal Shadeed from Pakistan. Sir, very comprehensive presentation on this topic, especially one important topic, I would say, in athletics field. I want to ask a question: at what time we can start a weight training to the young athletes? Can you suggest, if it is possible to give them weight training, then can you suggest what type of training we should give them, a weight training for the young athletes? From Sir Ria. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Colonel Sabir. I will answer directly, Lah. So I think this is a very good question for all of us when we start the weight training for young athlete. So in the presentation, maybe I'm not so clear, but I will try to explain again. Maybe Mr. Natarajan will help me also later. So we, of course, actually will start with the technical load first. That means sometimes we have to try to using the body weight, with the squatting with the body weight, for example. Then also can be used also the chest press with the body weight, or maybe we can use also with the snatching with the body weight. The important point here is in the technique, how the athlete can perform the technical during he do the body weight technique. So then they come with a live implement, like apparatus, like dumbbell, or maybe medicine ball, or maybe rubber, or maybe another thing that you can hold when you do the technical. So within this technique movement with the lightweight, they have to be good in technique. So if he or she doing not good in technique, don't let him or her continue. So just control the technique. Squat technique is not easy for young athlete. Sometimes the knee is in the wrong position. The foot is too maybe too near each other. So that means you have to control correctly the technique. Then you can add a little bit the weight. I mean, the weight is not always barbell. The weight can be with the heavier medicine ball, or maybe the rubber, the resistance band, a heavier resistor band. So you can have the athlete comfortable training, but also good in technique. Then only that, after the athlete will stable in technique. So after they can do squat very well with many weight, then also can do the power clean quite well. So the technique is stable, the technique is fixed. Then you can do another session with the weight. Normally we can start with the weight, with the heavy weight is after the girls is after 15, 16 years old. But for the boys, you can measure the maximal strength as only after 17 years old. So make sure you don't do too early, because when you do too early, the bone of the athlete also not strong yet. And the important thing is before that. Before that, you have to do general training. As I said before that, the general training is very important. So you have to make sure the stabilize of the body is fixed, it's good stabilization. You can do the core stabilization. You can do another circuit training with the body weight and everything. The athlete, good technique, good stabilize, and good mobilization, good technique. Then after that, you can start with that. Normally, the girl can start 15 to 16 years with the heavier weight, and the boys can start 17 years age. Thank you, Bala. I think this is my answer. Thank you, Colonel Sabir.
Thank you,
Okay.
sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, maybe from Dr. Natarajan want to add some.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I would like to add, and as I told in my presentation, coaches should be aware of these growth plates, because growth plates in the soft tissue of the bone edges matters a lot in the growth and development, because once you damage that with overstress or overload, it damages not only the growth of the child, but also it leads to injury. So after puberty, when the bone gets the strength, enough strength, then from own body weight, you can develop the maximum strength. As well said by Dr. Ria sir, after the age of 17, only maximum strength can be evaluated for boys. And for girls, during or after puberty, it can be. And another
I can hear you. I can hear.
Yeah,
Doctor.
me too. Yeah. Lost connection. All right. So maybe we.
I think so.
Maybe we go to the next question from. Yeah. Okay. Can you give the question?
Who? Oh, Bala.
Single answer. We already run. Okay.
Can I ask the question?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
Good morning, Mr. Ria.
Morning.
Actually, I have 2 to 3 more questions, but it's already answered. But I just want to ask one. Your first slide, your first slide regarding the training age, right?
Yeah.
So you said, yeah, first slide. Can you show the first slide?
Oh, no, thank you. Sorry, no. Okay. This one?
No.
The,
Is this the first one? No, right?
this one?
Yeah, this one. In this, you said the basic training start your age, not the duration, but the age 19 to 14. So we do have some athletes coming to the training session. Some they already grown up. Let's say by the age of 15, 16, they just joined the athletics.
Okay.
Then does it mean that we are going to start from the build-up training or we are going to do the basic training?
Okay. Is the question?
Shall we start? Yeah, shall we start from the basic with the such type of athlete when they are already grown up 15, 16?
Okay, I can understand the question. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sige. I think this is a very good question because we, in our country, there are a lot of athletes come late. So that means it can be late beginners because they come only after 14 years old or 15 years old, just come to training. But we have to see, we have to understand the situation before. Normally, kids going to school. So you can tracking him or her from the teacher in the school, what they are doing in the school. Maybe they do just physical education activities, or maybe he or she came to the school club, or maybe just active in the school because they just come to you late. But not that mean they came to training late. Maybe they train already with the teacher. But if he or she come late, really late, he never done sport before, then you have to do the basic training. You have to give the general movement experience. Then you can have to give the general motoric and sometimes combine with the sport motoric. So that means the general motoric and sport motoric can be distributed, can be with a good percentage, but not direct to the motoric, sport motoric. you have to come to the general motoric, then maybe can also to come to the motor technique. That means you will understand the adaptation of the kids. If the kid adapt the situation very fast, then you can come direct maybe later earlier to the build up training, because build up training is 3 to 4 years. It's not that short time. This is also long time. That's why you have to do better also in the 3 or 4 years. So that means you can cover a little bit about the basic training, then you combine with the build up training according to the chronological age and also developmental age. But of course, with the training age, he is still left behind. When you put him or her together with another athlete that already trained before, maybe he or she will be a little bit underestimate or this non-confidence. He's not confident because you have to train with the athlete who already trained for 3 or 4 years, but he just come. So that means you have to manage the training. But you see, in this situation, sometimes athlete who come late to you is very talented athlete. That by having the coach's eye, you will see whether he easy to adapt or late to adapt. So I think this is the question that there are so many possibility to answer this question. Thank you, Sige. Pala.
Thank you very much.
Arya, can I
Because
just
we have many athletes.
can I just add something maybe, CJ, before we proceed?
Yes.
Regarding the topic of children who come in late, I think as Paria rightly mentioned, I totally agree with him. We shouldn't compromise on pushing them too hard at the beginning when they have not done the training. Because, for example, if I give you an example, Carl Lewis, if you still recall, his last gold medal at the Olympic Games is at the age of 35.
Yeah.
And he won the long jump in Atlanta, the gold medal in the long jump in Atlanta in 1996. He was 35 years old. The British Linford Christie, I think, won his first gold medal in the Olympic Games at the age of 31. So athletics, I think, is a long-term training which allow athletes, if they are trained properly, to compete at the very best, even past the age of 30. With Carl Lewis at age 35 winning the gold medal at the Atlanta Games. So I think we shouldn't compromise to hurry the athlete. We should make sure that the basic is there. As Paria rightly mentioned, we look at the chronological age, that is one, but we also have to look at the training age as well as the biological age. And that will determine what the athletes can do and what the athletes cannot do. And as Patria has rightly pointed out, I think the coach's eye is very important to see the adaptation of the athletes to the training. That will also determine how fast the athletes can progress. I think that is also important. Just to add, Paria.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's good. Very good.
Thank you very much, Zana.
Right. So maybe last question from participant for Paria. Okay. So the question is,
Your eyes getting
Hello.
old.
Yeah.
Hey, Dr. Nadarajan. Yeah, wait. Because you
Yes,
are
sir. I'm here. I'm here. I regret in between the power went off, so I got disconnected.
Okay. I understand.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we come to the last question now.
yeah, the last
Pak-
question. Yeah. Right. So the question is the impact of the training. What is the question? I really
Negative
love-
impact.
Yeah, the negative
Okay,
impact.
from Firma.
Yeah, Firma Obina.
What is the negative impact of short term on the athlete body in the future? The answer to this question is very useful for me. Oh, okay, this I think is already answering, right?
So maybe that's all. I think we stop over here already. Yeah. Because you can answer the question at the chat room also, Pak Ria.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay, because the time is already time's up. So first of all, I want to thank you to our speaker for this morning, especially to Dr. R. Natarajan and Dr. Ria Lumituaso for a nice and powerful presentation. I hope today's webinar will be useful and participants can gain some new knowledge from our speakers. I hope we can meet again at a webinar in the future. And thank you again to everyone, and have a nice day. Right.
Thank you very much, Fala. Thank you, everybody. Terima kasih.
Thank you, everybody. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih Pak Arya. Terima kasih Mr. India.
Thank you, sir. Ria, sir. Dr. Natarajan, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Natarajan, thank you very much. Terima kasih.
Thank you, Dokter.
Hey, Joseph.
Thank you, Pak Ria. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih, masih.
Terima kasih, Pak Ria.
Terima kasih.
Terima kasih.
Bye, see you again.
Thank you. Bye, Radi.
Bye. Thank you very much.
Terima kasih semuanya.
Long time.
Bye, bye. Thank you very
Terima kasih,
much.
Pak Ria. Terima kasih semuanya.
Terima kasih.
Bye, Pak Ria. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Terima kasih.
Terima kasih. Terima kasih.
Yeah, everyone.
Terima kasih Pak Ria. Terima kasih.
Matur nuwun, Mbak Yono.
Terima kasih, Pak Ria.
Sehat selalu.
Thank you.
Terima kasih.
Terima kasih.
Matur suwun.
Matur suwun.
Matur nuwun.
Ya, bagi yang belum jawab, saya jawab di chat ya, karena tadi.
Terima kasih.
Terima kasih, Maria.
Terima kasih.
Waktunya nih.
Halo.
Terima kasih Pak Ria.
Dari
Thank
Banten.
you. Terima kasih. Sarabadan.
Sukses selalu untuk Pak Ria.
Woi, makasih.
Terima kasih, Pak Ria.
Terima kasih, Bu Edi.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ria, I just joined.
Anba, thank you very much. You just joined.
Join last 10 minutes.
What you doing this morning? Okay. Thank you, Amba. Enjoy.
Thank you, Ria, sir. Thank you.
Hey,
Yes.
Thank you, Mohammed Nijamuddin.
Thank you, Dr. Natarajan.
Thank you, Anbana. வணக்கம் உள்ள பாத்தீங்களா? Thank you. Tejasvi. Thank you, Ramya Mal.
Raja.
apa?
Going to bed now. Bye bye.
Thank you, Rumet.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Natarajan sir.
Yes.
Thank you, Natarajan sir. I am Rajkumar, Physical Director.
Thank you, Rajkumar. உங்க message பார்த்தேன். Thank you.
Well done, Mr. Natarajan. Thank you.
Very nice of you. Dr. Satpal, thank you so much. Pratap Reddy, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Natasha, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much from Pakistan.
Thank you, sir. Natarajan sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Natarajan sir and Ria sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Kavi, why are you?
My heartful thank you to Ria sir and Natarajan sir.
Thank you.
It's very helpful for our.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kavi. Are you okay?
Thank you, Natasha. Yes, sir.
Thank you so much.
இல்ல இது டெவலப்பிங் அத்லெட்டிக் யங் அத்லெட் யங் அத்லெட் டெவலப் எப்படி யங் அத்லெட் எப்படி டெவலப் பண்றது அப்படின்னு வேர்ல்டுல இருக்கிற எல்லா கோச்சும் இதுல இருப்பாங்க.
Thank you, Coach Manivandan.
Makasih, Bu Yus. Mbak Yus.
Salam dari Kendari.
Oi, Kendari jauh betul tamat. Ketemu ya lagi.
Thank you, Ria sir.
Makasih.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Raj.
Thank you, Roya. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you, Chair Derek. Thank you very much. What time now in your country?
Sir, this is a very good full. This is very thankful session, sir.
Midnight.
Sir, thank you, sir. And real, sir.
9:45, my country.
10:45 in the evening.
Morning.
Oh, morning. Okay, great.
9:45.
I mean in Dominica. Your timing is from Dominica.
It's lunchtime.
Good, good. It's very good for you.
Yes, Coach Manivandan.
Mas Joko. Joko Listion.
Sir, good morning, sir. Good morning, sir.
Terima kasih datang lagi.
And I'm so happy, Dr. Ria. You are my first teacher. Fantastic. Thank you so much. How was the presentation, Dr. Ria?
Kalau nggak lihat Pak Ria seminggu udah bingung.
Yes.
Kalau nggak lihat Pak Ria seminggu udah bingung.
Waduh, gawat ini macam.
Ada lagi banyak
Saya harus datang ke kota Nanjenengan nih kapan-kapan.
Ya, memang kita lagi berbenah di KONI Pak Ria, makanya saya mengikuti perkembangan. Masalah prestasi kami kan memang apa ya, standar-standar saja. Saya kepingin hike beneran.
Itu ada Pak Devi juga itu, diajak omong dia itu.
Enggak, malas saya sama Pak Devi. Nanti berkelahi sama saya.
Gitu ya. Karena beda cabangnya tapi sama-sama kelahinya.
Ya, tapi gara-gara Pak Devi saya akhirnya lulus juga di pelatihan pelatih Kempo ya di Jogja itu. Kalau tidak ada Pak Devi saya nggak direkom nanti.
Syukurlah kalau gitu.
Terima kasih Pak Devi, Pak Ria.
Selalu
ada bosan berbagi ilmu.
Terima kasih selalu.
Bang Sek ini dasarnya lulus di Kempo itu.
Siap. Tapi ada yang nggak lulus kok Pak Devi.
Ada, Bo.
Ada 6 orang.
Komandan saya Pak Sabta Kunta, Pak Dekan, terima kasih.
Mantap, luar biasa.
Harus berbagi loh besok.
Ya,
yang akan datang. Ini karena ditunggu ini.
Gimana Pak Ria?
Ditunggu jenengan itu oleh para peserta ini. Kapan nih Pak Kunta ini bicara ini?
Ya. Siap.
Nah, besok lah yang akan datang harus ini Pak Kunta. Karena ilmunya kebanyakan di kepala nanti nggak dikeluarkan nanti meledak kepalanya itu. Susah itu.
Mohon izin Pak Ria.
Oh ya. Oh Pak Imam Suhadi, moga Pak. Terima kasih sudah datang lagi Pak.
Ya.
Good Imam.
Ya.
Mari Pak Ria izin live dulu.
Pak Devi ngantuk itu. Bida.
Ini saya
this afternoon. How about this afternoon?
Yeah. I think I spoke to Rafiq. Rafiq has sent us the link already. So I already sent to your WhatsApp. So for you to check.
Thank you.
So you can have a look there. Then probably but today I'll just show my face for the opening. And then tomorrow
I will check my WhatsApp or email maybe later.
Yeah. I just sent a WhatsApp.
Good morning, sir.
Not sent anything. So
Kafi, say hello to you.
Hi, Kafi.
Good morning, sir.
Hi.
Fine.
Good afternoon. Good morning to you. Good afternoon to me.
Yes, already afternoon.
Yes.
We still morning.
Yes, correct. It should be still morning. Yeah.
You already afternoon.
Yes, just past 10 minutes past 12. Okay.
My moderator, where is my moderator, Pak La?
Yeah, Pak La was good.
Pak La was good. It's very good.
Not bad. He's learning. It's very good.
I imported the moderator from Malaysia.
Yeah.
To come to Jogja.
For sure. No problem.
And he's sometimes sleeping. And his eyes got problem, I think.
Oh.
Good morning.
Okay, so it's 1:30, right? Yeah. Their time. So yeah, okay. I'm 3 hours difference. You also, right?
Yes. Yeah. I think for you it's a little bit.
3 hours. I think yours is.
Yeah, for me 2 hours different.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. I need to.
It will be 3 o'clock in my time.
Yeah, mine will be. This Is it 3 or 4? The schedule said 3:30.
Yeah,
So
3:30.
1:30 their time.
So 3:30. Yeah, 3:30 is here in Jakarta. And
That's
in
correct, 3:30.
Singapore will be 4:30.
Yes. 4:30. But it's okay. Today is okay. Tomorrow will be evening,
Yeah.
5 o'clock.
Yeah.
Can. Okay. Will do. Then I'll catch you later. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Vida. See you later.
Yeah.
Selamat berjumpa kembali Pak Dokter ya.
Halo, Pak Abdul Saman. Waduh, terima kasih.
Iya.
Wah,
Semoga corona cepat berlalu Pak.
iya ini. Ayo, kita harus ketemu lagi di darat nih. Tidak di
Iya,
udara.
iya Pak. Iya Pak. Insya Allah Pak. Insya Allah.
Terima kasih Pak Abdul Saman.
Iya Pak. Wassalamualaikum.
தெரியும் அவங்களுக்கு தெரியும் பண்ண மாட்டாங்கன்னு.
Pak Siho, apa kabar Pak Siho? Wah, ini dari Semarang rupanya ini. Tapi dia mic-nya masih mati nih, mic-nya masih. Hidupkan dulu. Nggak dengar karena mic-nya masih dimatiin tuh. Dihidupin dulu, Mas. Bilang kalau mic-nya masih mati. Mic-nya masih mati itu, nggak dengar Mas Yu. Kan ngurit ke.
Oh ya, terima kasih Mas.
Baru dengar itu.
Terima kasih sekali ilmunya bagi-bagi. Sudah mulai.
Sama-sama, sekedar diskusi.
Oh, meskipun nyandal sedikit-sedikit, tapi nyandal Mas.
Ya, ada gambar. Sengaja banyak gambarnya supaya enak.
Bagus.
Oke, terima kasih Mas Yu.
Ya, makasih ya Mas ya.
Sudah mulai kelatih terus ya?
Siap sudah. Besok ke Pati, besok hari Minggu ke Pati.
Oh, Pati. Oh iya. Oke, hati-hati. Hati-hati, jaga jarak. Ya.
Salam keluarga ya, salam sehat. Selalu sukses.
Amin.
Assalamualaikum. Assalamualaikum.
Salam.
So, what are you doing after this, Pak?
Yes.
What are you doing after this, Pak? You're having your lunch after this.
Yeah, me too. You already, eh? You already lunchtime.
Yeah, already lunchtime. After this, I will go to Mama Cafe.
No. Don't say that. I want to join you, but I am not able to do.
We want to find out the face like Bunga Citra Lestari, Pak.
Okay. I have no chance to posting Bunga Citra.
Yeah, quite interesting the topic. That's why I got a positive feedback from participants.
Yeah. So because Dr. Natarajan has very great experience regarding the management of the young athlete.
Yeah.
This thing. Yeah.
And then suddenly my director give the answer also.
Just some.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Pala.
Yeah,
to be our moderators. Normally you moderator in your room, but now I ask to you moderator in this my room.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for opportunity. Even though the last
thank you. Thank you.
No problem, Pak.
Hope you can do again later. Pak Devi. Jangan tidur Pak Devi. Biasanya tidur ya.
Kalian kelembur LTAD nih nggak ngantuk.
Oh, gawat. Sudah jadi. Oke, saya tinggal dulu. Mas Iu, makasih semua, makasih. Pak Ronald, makasih Pak Ronald. Mas semua, terima kasih.
Selamat siang.
Pan?
Gracias, volunteer.